Hi, Alfred speaking. How are you? I'll show you the steps I mentioned in my previous post one by one to show you the difference between the flag new VP frozen set or not set. So we have a new drawing. I have the standard layout. If I look to the standard layout, I delete the viewport. If I look to that, I delete the viewport. I delete this layout, so we have a clean drawing with just one layout, no viewport inside it. Now I create a new layer and we play the games twice. One time we set the new VP freeze and the other time we don't set this flag. So let's start with create a new layer. Sorry, I shouldn't have a command active. I create a new layer called A. I leave A status for new VP freeze active. I create a second layer, layer B, and inside the layer B I set the new VP freeze to yes, frozen. So what happens now if I create a new viewport? Either by creating a new layout, by default a new viewport will be created, or the other situation, I create a new viewport by myself, rectangular viewport. I create the viewport, I enter with a double click the viewport, and if you see now the layer B where the new viewport freeze is activated, inside this new viewport the VP freeze is set automatically. On layer A we have not set the new VP freeze, and so the layer will be visible. So let's start with pointing out when do we need that or when do we use it. I mentioned the sample with dimension. So for example, if I have model space, I have a rectangle with let's say 10 by 5, and I run new dimension. So what I start now is I create a new layer. The layer should be dim for dimension, and what I want to have is that I by default don't want to see dimensions, so I only will use or will activate them in some specific layers, but in general when creating new viewports this should not be visible. So I activate now layer dim, I create a dimension, and I want to have the dimension here, I want to have the dimension here. So that's what we need to be more okay or more working with layers. I place the rectangle on layer A, the dimension is on layer dimension. So what happens now if we create new layers with new viewports? I create a new layer by default has a viewport. If not, you can create one. And when you look now to the viewport, inside the viewport, if you make a double click, you see our rectangle, but you don't see the dimension. Why don't you see the dimension? Because we have activated this flag which says if you create a new viewport, make this layer frozen inside the viewport, and that's why we don't see a dimension. That's why why this flag exists, to make sure that some specific layers I don't want to be shown by default in new viewports. I can arrange it that new viewports will automatically freeze them. So again, I create a new layout, check that layout, I see inside the new viewport dimension layer is blocked. If I want to show it inside this viewport, I can uncheck the VP freeze. So I see here the viewport in with the dimension, the other viewports stay the layer frozen. I hope that this makes it more clear. Please let me know if there are questions on that. Thank you, bye.